Very good afternoon, dear lovely audience. Today we are back with another happiness podcast, Executive Harmony, conversation with global leaders and for happiness and spirituality. I am your host, Professor Nitin Arora, the head of Amity University Reiki Foundation Center for Science of Happiness, an amazing center at Amity University, Uttar Pradesh. Today we have a lovely weather in India and we also have a lovely guest in Indian environment, Mr. Alexander Kjerulf. Mr. Alexander, welcome to Amity University Center of Happiness.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be part of this conversation.
Your shirt looks very flowery and very lovely. Thank you for
Thank you so much.
wearing
Thank you so much.
Dear wonderful audience, as we promised to you, we always bring a very amazing guest from the global landmarks. And today we are lucky that we have Mr. Alexander coming directly as a Chief Happiness Officer of Woohoo Incorporation. That's a wonderful name that you have, Woohoo. Wonderful name. When I heard this name, I said, wow, it was like extended wow for me.
Right. That is the plan. It catches your attention, right?
Yes, yes. He is one of the world's leading expert on happiness at work. He's an author and speaker, presenting and conducting workshops on happiness at work at businesses and conferences in over 50 countries. His clients include companies like Hilton, Microsoft, IKEA, Shell, HP, and IBM. Mr. Alex has a master's degree in computer science from the University of Southern Denmark and was a co-founder of Danish IT company Enterprise Systems. Alex is also the author of 5 amazing books. The international bestseller, Happy Hour, is 9 to 5. The book has been extremely well received all over the world and is available in multiple languages, including English, Spanish, Dutch, Czech, and many more. His latest book is Leading with Happiness, How the Best Leaders Put Happiness First to Create Phenomenal Business Results and a Better World. His work has been featured in CNN, New York Times, Times of India, Times, the BBC, Financial Times, and many other. So happy to read your profile, Mr. Alexander, and smile is already on my face, and I'm sure for everybody's also. Thank you once again.
My pleasure.
People think happiness is the last thing that they will take it in the 90 year of age when they will become, till the time they can have the hell, but then heaven only in the end. But that is maybe we perceive not a right way.
I am happy to share anything I can.
Okay. We want to welcome you on behalf of our Honorable Founder President, Dr. Ashok K. Chauhan, our Honorable Chancellor, Dr. Atul Chauhan, who is also the President of RBEF Foundation, our Honorable Vice Chancellor, ma'am, Professor Dr. Balvinder Shukla. Now, we will start with this anthem for our happiness podcast. This is for Executive Harmony.
In the boardrooms we find a different kind of mind. Leaders taking time to seek the truth inside. Heart and soul aligned. In wisdom we can find. Let's spark a change in kind. The journey starts inside. Executive harmony. Together we'll explore happiness and spirit. We'll add a world. We're fearless in spirituality. We're searching for much more. At the center for science of happiness, where peace and joy reside. CEOs and guides, their stories far and wide. From boardrooms to the time. In peace they'll fly. Executive harmony. Together we'll explore happiness and spirit. Within this and spirituality, we're searching for much more. At the Center for Science of Happiness, where peace and joy reside. From the highs to lows, the wisdom of the pros. In each step we'll grow, with every word they show. Executive harmony. Together we'll explore happiness and spirit. Within spirituality, we're searching for much more. At the Center for Science of Happiness, where peace and joy reside. From the highs to lows, the wisdom of the pros. In each step we'll grow, with every word they show.
That was amazing.
So, Alex, we start with the direct question.
Yes.
Since you happen into the world of this happiness, why don't corporates get that? Okay, happiness is important for their employees, for everything. Why they miss it out?
Yeah. I just want to start by saying that a lot of them do get it. And
Do
more,
get it.
and yeah, absolutely. And more of them do. There has been a real, since I started doing this work over 20 years ago, there has been like a massive awakening in the number of top level business leaders who understand that happiness at work is a good thing. They're still in the minority, and there are still people who don't get it. And I think there are two main reasons why. And one is tradition. This is not the way we have done things in the past. And a lot of business leaders think they're very forward thinking and very, advanced of mind, but really they're just falling back on what we used to do and what everybody else in the corporate world is doing. And also, and we shouldn't forget this, in order to be, if you're really focused on happiness, there are many, many workplaces where you will not be promoted, where the people they promote to top level positions are the people who are hard-nosed, focused on numbers. They only care about profits and the bottom line, and they don't care about the people. So I think that's one issue. And the other issue is, of course, education. And that's why I'm so happy to see that you have the Center for Happiness and Spirituality. I think it's so great that there's an actual university level study focused on happiness, because a lot of what business leaders, when they take an education, when they take an MBA or a PhD or any kind of business degree, they will learn the opposite of happiness. They will learn how to maximize profits. They will learn how to focus on strategy and goals and results, and pretty much how to ignore people. I took some business strategy classes myself, and I was unspeakably depressed because it was all about creating market advantage, and there was nothing there about happiness at work or happiness in general. That's why I was so happy to hear from you and to see the work you're doing with the Center for Happiness.
Even to say I love you, you need a rose, which is expensive. Even to give a AC in the room, it is expensive. So as you said, many people are getting the perspective of happiness.
Yeah. And also, I just want to say that of course, business leaders need to focus on results. It's just that the good business leaders know that if you only focus on results, you actually get worse results. If you focus on results and happiness, you create more happiness and better results.
Why do so many decision makers still treat happiness as a luxury, not as a necessity? Why they think we will do happiness thing only once in a week as a seminar or a lecture, or we will call a trainer for half an hour of happiness?
Yeah, I think the real problem here is that a lot of them have not looked into the science of this. And the science very clearly shows that if employees are happy at work, they will do much better work. We know there's a massive number of studies on this. We know that happy employees are more productive, more creative, more innovative. They help each other more. They deliver better customer service. They're sick less often. They stay longer with the company, so you have higher retention, and so on and so on. There are so many business benefits, but the problem is that business leaders don't know this. They have a little bit of a lot of them have a little bit of this mindset that work must be hard. If you want to create great results, you have to suffer. You have to, work a lot of hours and really struggle. And of course, we know the opposite is true. That when people enjoy what they do, they deliver better results. And a large part of the work that we do is about educating businesses on this, so that they understand that for a modern workplace, happiness is one of the probably the main driver of business results.
I was watching one of the you can say interview of Steve Jobs. A
Yeah,
question was asked to him like how he stays happy. He says, "My formula for happiness is passion." So it
yeah,
was asked, "How come passion is linked with happiness?" He said, "If you have to do something and if you are not passionate enough, it simply means that you will not be able to survive the tough terrain ahead of you. So if
yes.
there is a tough terrain and you are unhappy, you will fall down, you will give up." So he says that passion is most important, otherwise unhappy people will just give up very fast.
I agree completely. You should have work that you actually care about, work that means something to you. So it's not just, I work this many hours and then I get a paycheck. You should have like a teacher who actually cares about the students in school, or a doctor who actually cares about the patients, or a bus driver who actually cares about getting people to work on, safely and on time. Those people, there's research on this. There's a fantastic study by a fantastic body of work by Amy Resniewski from Yale University, Yale Business School, I believe, where she looked at why people work. And people who have this passion, who actually believe in the work itself, are happy at work, are more successful, and also happier in life.
Hmm. What is the cost of ignoring happiness?
Okay, yeah, that's a great question, and people ignore that cost, right? They completely forget about it. So first of all, turnover. Employee turnover, I mean, this is not rocket science, right? If people are not happy at work, they will leave first chance they get. If people love their jobs, they will stay much longer with the company. They probably won't stay forever, but they'll stay longer. Um, so second, and I'm not even kidding. I have seen companies, workplaces with turnover rates of like 50, 60%. So that
Okay.
every year they're losing over half of their employees. Can you imagine what that costs in recruitment costs and training costs and just overall hassle and that kind of thing? That's massively expensive. Secondly, absenteeism. We know that when people are happy at work, they are healthier. If people are stressed and frustrated and burned out, they become sick more often. And I've seen unhappy workplaces with absenteeism rates of 15 to 20%. 15 to 20%, so that every day you're losing 20, you're missing 20% of your one-fifth of your staff. That's just crazy. And on top of that, you have things like employer branding. If people hate their jobs, they're out there telling all of their friends and family, do not come here to work. This place is terrible. So you have a hard time attracting the best employees. And then, of course, on top of that, we know that when people are frustrated and miserable at work, they do worse work. They're not very open. They're not very productive. They're not very creative. They don't want to help each other. They just want to protect themselves so they don't get fired. So those costs can be massively expensive.
This reminded me of the two famous words. One is Monday blues,
Yeah,
that the weekend is gone. Oh my God, we have to go to the work. So when Monday blues. And then there is a joy element called TGIF. Thank God
yeah,
it's Friday.
yeah,
So these two words simply means that the employees are not happy and they are waiting either for the Friday to happen, or
yeah.
they are not, and they are sad that Sunday has finished.
Exactly, exactly. I've talked to people who are like Sunday morning already. They start to worry about Monday morning. They're like, oh my God, tomorrow I have to go back to work. I don't wanna. I wish I hadn't. I wish I was sick so I didn't have to go to work. That kind of thing. That's not good. That's really not good.
Just comes to the next question, Alex. I have some few friends also who got, even suppose if I say $100,000, suppose a raise in one of the event. But then he resigned. And he
Mhm.
said, because I am resigning, after taking the money, he took the bonus and then he resigned.
Yeah.
And I asked, why did you resign? He said, because my colleague got a bonus for double. So why do high performers quit? Even when they get promotions, huge bonuses, even then they quit.
Yeah. I mean, your friend's story points to one issue, which is unfairness, the perception of unfairness. And if you get a bonus and you feel like somebody else got a bigger bonus and they didn't earn it, that perception of unfairness can absolutely make people quit. But in my opinion, there are two main reasons why people quit their jobs. One is the boss. If they're being mistreated by their manager, if their manager doesn't respect them and treat them well, that is a massive, massive reason why people quit. And that's at all levels. And a bad relationship with the manager is absolutely terrible. If your manager doesn't respect you or treat you well, you will be miserable at work. And then I think the other reason why people quit is that their work is pointless to them. Why am I, every week I do all of this work, but who am I helping? Why is the world a little bit of a better place because I do the job I do? More and more people, especially more and more young people, are demanding work that is actually meaningful to them, where they actually make a positive difference in the world with the work they do. And if, especially young people, if they don't have that, they're going to quit and they're going to go find that somewhere else. So it's on companies to make sure that we show our employees, here is why your work matters. Here is who you're helping when you do your job well.
So they don't get a proper feedback about the impact that they're making to the work of the organization, something like that.
Absolutely. Feedback and feedback in the form that you're very good at what you do, but also feedback in the form of, and you make a difference. You can help your clients, you can help your coworkers, you can help the company, you can help the bottom line, but you matter, you make a difference.
So that is a kind of feedback which is very normal at the family, that if a husband does something wrong or a wife does something wrong or a child does something wrong, on the spot feedback.
Yes.
On the spot, because they have a full command, or you can say full authority over the other person. And then the person changes very fast.
Yeah.
So can you share some examples on how investing in happiness had led to clear increase in retention or innovation, as you were saying? Any one example that you can share?
Yes, I have
One
so
or
many. I have so many.
yes,
One of my
feel.
favorites is that some years ago, a local IKEA warehouse came to us and they were like, we can see that our customer satisfaction scores are dropping a little. They're not bad or anything, but they were like going down and they were not happy about that. And then on their own, they had realized that the only way that they could make the customers happy was if they could make the employees happy.
Okay.
So they came to us and we did a massive project with 450 people in this warehouse. So we worked with the managers, we worked with every single team, we did workshops, we did talks, we gave them tools, and they worked on this on their own, including on things like positive feedback and internal communication and so on. And the result of this process was that in this warehouse, employee happiness went up, employee loyalty and retention went up, customer satisfaction went up, sales went up, absenteeism went down. So it had so many positive results. And what is fascinating here is that these results happened over a period of 3 months. You can change a culture in an organization very, very quickly if you make a focused effort and you do the right things quickly. And that's what we did at this warehouse. And they saw the results in just 3 months. That is one of my favorite examples, especially because after our project was done, they kept doing a lot of these things. So they kept the process going and still got those great results. But we've seen this in every industry. We work a lot in pharmaceuticals. We work a lot with financial workplaces, and everywhere we get the same type of results.
Okay. So I hope if everybody is understanding or take clue from this IKEA example, that if you can make employees happy, they are the one who are responsible to interacting with the customers or with the clients or even with the stakeholders. The face of the company is the employees. If something goes wrong, then they are putting a wrong face there.
Exactly.
So uh, is there any evidence about happier teams which outperforms traditional teams, which are like, as you said in the very beginning, those who are focusing on numbers, like high pressure teams or happier teams? If I want to say these two words, high pressure team and
Yeah,
happier team,
yeah.
anything you have come across?
Yes. So first of all, there's massive research that shows that happier teams do better work. We know that from a ton of research. And we also know that, and this is interesting because we know that happiness can vary a lot inside the organization between teams. So even inside the same workplace, you can have teams that are really happy and teams that are absolutely miserable. So I think the team level is a great place to start because you can make a huge difference in a team very, very quickly. We also know that there's some fascinating research from Gallup. We know that that 70% of the difference in happiness scores between teams is due to the leader of each team. So the leader has a huge effect. And if we want to talk about high pressure teams, so teams that work on challenging tasks in challenging environments, we know that happiness at work is especially important for them. And we know that if you frame this right, if you talk about, we have an important mission, we make a difference, it's important that we do our jobs well because when we do, we are helping these people. Then instead of pressure, you create a sense of a mission, which helps people perform better and be happy at work. I'll give you an example. So I worked with a team from a Danish hospital, and these people, they do jaw surgery. So let's say somebody has been in a traffic accident or a hunting accident, and their face has been injured. They can fix these people. They're amazing at what they do. And this is high pressure, right? Their work is super important for these people. If they don't do their work well, these people will never recover and look like themselves again. But they have been so good at creating an internal atmosphere where everybody has this mission in mind, where everybody works to make this happen. Both, the surgeons and the nurses and the administrative staff and the orderlies and everybody work to make this happen. So this was actually the happiest team inside this hospital. And the interesting thing here is that this team, they do not have higher budgets or more resources than all the other teams. They just have a really clear focus on their mission and on creating a happy team in that department. It's absolutely fascinating.
I remember one example, Alex, you might have heard about the F1 races and all. So there is a thing that when a car comes for changing the tires, and it's a very high pressure situation, they have
Yes.
to change the car, put the oil, check the air in less number of seconds.
Yeah.
So the challenge was with the Ferrari how to reduce that time, from suppose 10 seconds or 12 seconds to lesser time.
Yeah.
So they were unable to do it. And then they said, please do it in a style which makes you happy.
Hmm.
And then those people were able to come up with some new solutions, which they were able to cut down the time of changing everything, putting oil, and timing also less. And they were happy also. But when they were going with the protocols, so they were following all the protocols, but then the delay was happening a lot. But the moment the focus was on, okay, forget all protocols, make sure the work is done and it is as joyful and it is convenient to everybody. And then they come up with the new designs.
Yes.
So high pressure situations coupled with the joy can add advantage to some companies and some situations, but provided the companies understand that yes,
Exactly.
employees have brains also. Uh,
Yes. And speaking of pressure, I think a lot of executives think that if you want people to perform better, you must pressure them. You must put pressure on them. And that actually has the opposite effect. Have you ever heard the expression a burning platform?
mhm.
As in business, some people talk about we must create a burning platform to inspire people to action. Well, this expression comes from a fire on a Norwegian oil drilling platform in the North Sea, where the platform was on fire, and you had as a worker on this platform, you had a decision: stay on the platform and burn to death, or jump in the freezing North Sea and drown.
Oh.
That's not a good metaphor to use in our businesses. We need to take the pressure off people. We need to focus on happiness because then they perform better in high pressure situations, just like you're saying.
my one of my last PhD scholar was from an oil company only. He
Yeah.
was the general manager in ONGC. This is a top number one oil company. So he said during the Corona time, normally the employees from the platform, this the place oil, uh, taking the platform wherever they rig the all the things. So he said normally the time of changing the employees is 2 weeks. But now in Corona time, back then, it became 3 months. So
Hmm.
the employees were having this problem that they want to go back home, but they can't go back home. So something similar that either they jump or they stay on the platform for as long as possible.
Yeah,
So that was a tough time for them also at the time.
of course.
Uh, as you said, two reasons of you can say why employees quit. One of them you said was the boss or the bad relationships, or you
Yeah.
can say some kind of immediate supervisor. So have you found something if we change the leadership, can we track happiness?
It really, first of all, it really matters, and second of all, we can train managers to do this. We can train leaders in organizations to focus on happiness, and we can give them simple, specific, proven tools that will actually make themselves and their employees happier. And that's a lot of the work we do, is these kinds of management trainings. um, because this is not rocket science. The things that a manager needs to do to keep their staff happy, they're not, it's not going to cost $1 million or take a year. These are proven simple things you can do every day, like positive feedback or listening to employees, or something simple like saying good morning to them in the morning when you come to work. All of these things provably make a difference. So we can and we must teach our managers this, and many organizations, of course, don't. And again, as like I said, many MBAs or business schools do not teach this at all. They kind of teach the opposite. So that's why it's on companies to make sure that when we give somebody a management position, we give them the tools to be a manager in a way that makes themselves and their staff happy. I will also say that some managers cannot learn this, or they refuse to learn this, and those people should not be managers. Those people need to go work somewhere else, because they're just going to make everybody around them miserable. There's, again, a ton of research on how rude and disrespectful leadership behavior affects everybody around them.
But then there is no power in the hand of all the employees to say something on that issues. Global, worldwide, it's the same situation. Till you are not the boss, you are the
Yeah.
ear to the boss.
Yes. So what you can do is, there are two possible answers. One thing is, if you work for a manager who is, making everybody miserable, what you can do is, of course, you can quit and you can go work somewhere else. Maybe you can find a job in a different team in the same organization with a better manager, or maybe there's somebody else is hiring. What you can never do is just keep working for them, because they will break you down over time. The other thing is that I think it's on the main responsibility here should not be on the employees. The main responsibility here should be on the workplace to make sure that we don't have bad managers. I There's a company here in Denmark called Carl Ras. They sell tools for professional builders online, and they say they have 400 employees. They say we have no bad managers. They don't have a single bad manager inside the organization, because what they do is that they measure employee happiness several times a year. And if employees in a team say this manager is not behaving right, they will train that manager to behave better, or they will fire that manager. And I think that it is on companies to make sure that we identify the bad managers, or either train them to become better or get rid of them. This is absolutely essential, because we know the cost of bad management. We know how it destroys people's lives, people's health, people's mental health, and people's careers, and destroys business results, by the way.
So, as a chief happiness officer, for some people who are not aware about even this title, so that is a thing that is we all are aware of. But those who join for the first time, this happiness podcast, and
Yeah,
you being the chief happiness officer, would you like
yeah.
to say what this role entails and what kind of role you do? Something on that?
Sure. So I think the most important thing to know is that the chief happiness officer's job is not to go around and make everybody happy. Like, go up to every desk and say, "Hey, Nitin, are you happy today? How can I make you happy?" That would be terrible. So I see the chief happiness officer as a project manager role. like the project manager of the happiness project, making sure that we have a plan for happiness, that the plan is being developed, that the plan is being executed, and that the plan is being evaluated. And we're constantly adding new initiatives to the plan, that we're doing the right things that work for our employees, so that, as you're saying, it doesn't become sporadic. It's just like something we do once in a while, but there's like a concerted plan for creating happiness work in this organization. That's how I see this role, and it can. I've seen many people in this role. I worked with the Shell refinery in Denmark, and there one of the electricians was like, "Yeah, I'll take that role," and he did a lot of cool things. I worked with a pension company in Copenhagen, and there it was a lady called Helene who was the head of legal. Yeah. And she was passionate about happiness at work. So she was a chief happiness officer. Created a little team, reported directly to the CEO, and they did a lot of cool things to create happiness in this organization. So I think that is really the main goal. The main focus here should be on the plan. Do we have a plan, a strategic focus on happiness at work, and are we executing on that plan?
So how expensive a plan this could be of making an organization happy? Because again, this comes down to numbers. And if
Yeah.
you can tell, like if some organization has adopted, like you said, even Shell, they have a now chief happiness officer. I
Yeah.
think you trained her or you trained him.
Yes.
And now he or she is the head of the happiness in Shell,
Yeah.
Denmark.
Yeah.
So what changes or what things he might have done and he's continuing to do that?
Yeah. So here's the thing. A lot of the initiatives that I've seen work really well are not very expensive. So a lot of people think that this has to be hugely expensive. Like we have to give bonuses every day, or we have to put a gym in the office, or we have to have like, I don't know, free food or a party or whatever. And those things can get really expensive. But some of the things that I've seen work incredibly well are dirt cheap. Things like focus on positive feedback. I talk about IKEA. So they wanted to focus on positive feedback. So they had a wall. They put up a huge blackboard in their employee cafeteria. And the idea was that you could use this wall to praise your coworkers. So you could, write somebody's name and why you think they're amazing and put it on the wall so everybody could see it. What does that cost? Nothing. That is free. There are so many things you can do that cost essentially very little money, very little time, and that actually make a huge difference. Can I share a fantastic example?
Please.
There are two sales managers from a Danish company, one of our clients, wanted to make their 80 staff happy. So one Monday morning, unannounced, they're in the reception and they greet every single employee with a friendly "Good morning, how are you?" and a little plate of breakfast they can take up to their desk and enjoy for themselves. And like that took them an hour. It cost them like 50 euros, and it made everybody happy for a week after. Those little things can really make a difference.
I remember. Yes, please.
And then of course, like a focus on how we work. Do our employees have any problems? Is there something that's annoying them? Are there some problems we can fix? That kind of thing. Again, it's not going to cost any money, and it's going to have a huge effect.
I remember in system of universities, like in India, there is a system that students have to sometimes students celebrate the birthdays when a teacher is there or somebody is there. I reversed it.
Yeah,
So in classroom, we celebrate the birthday of students.
I love that.
So they were saying, कि, sir, whose birthday it is that you are, which faculty birthday it is? I said, no faculty birthday, it is student's birthday. Sir, it never happens. No faculty celebrate the birthday of students. So you are the first one. So I said, the center of happiness, na? We do something unique things, we do it. So they were very happy that we have students' birthday. And we also have at Amity University different campuses, one in Netherlands, one in UAE. They have even brought therapy dogs.
Yes,
They have therapy dogs also. So
love it.
the dogs come in the classes and they move with the students. Anybody want to just upset, so the dog moves around and they can just talk to the dog, whatever. So we have kept therapy dogs also. That is also one of the things that university has taken care of. Thank you for telling this. Now, if you want to encourage employees, like to talk about happiness or to prioritize about happiness, so what would you say to an employee who believes, I can't afford to prioritize my happiness right now, I want help?
Yeah. You can't. I would say you can't afford not to. So here's what we know. So, and this is a huge part of our work, is convincing individual employees that happiness work matters, and you need to prioritize your own well-being at work, because a lot of people don't know this, or a lot of people kind of have the opposite attitude. I did a talk at the University of Boston University, sorry, And there's this American guy who raises his hand and says, well, of course I hate my job. That's why I get paid. Like a lot of people have this mental model that work sucks. Work is unpleasant. Work is hard. And that's just the way it is. And you can't change it. I gave a talk at a bank in South Africa. And after my talk, this woman employee came up and said, you know what? She had never realized that it was possible to have a job you enjoy. That was
Is it?
that was a completely new idea for her. So that's a part of our work is making people aware that yes, work can be fun, work can be nice, you can enjoy your job, and in fact, when you do, it has a large number of positive effects. And again, we can talk about the research, and we know that if you like your job, you will be, of course, happy at work, but you'll also get better results. You'll do better work. You will have better career outcomes. You will be promoted more. You'll make more money, higher lifetime income. You will be sick less often. We know that being miserable at work can give you mental health problems like stress and burnout and depression. And we know that it can cause physical health problems like some forms of cancer, heart disease, and even type 2 diabetes. So I think that's how we try to convince people. And I think the main argument I always use is like, over your entire lifetime, what will you spend the most time on? And we know from time studies that number one is sleep and number two is work. And are you really going to spend that much of your life on something you hate? I mean, isn't that a waste of time? Isn't that a waste of life? And that's how we try to convince people to take responsibility for their own happiness at work.
In sleep, we are unconscious, and some people also work unconsciously.
Yeah,
So,
very true.
so conscious people, like they want to spend whatever time they have consciously and having a meaningful living of the life kind of a thing.
Exactly.
But most people prefer in a different perspective. As you said, the lady whom you met, and she said, how can you have a joyful work, joy at
Yeah.
work?
Yeah. How's that even possible?
Possible. So now those employees who don't have this atmosphere or joyful atmosphere, like that lady, you said it.
Yeah.
So what advice you would like to suggest that even if the organization don't value it, how to be joyful at work?
Yeah.
What they should do?
So I think the first step is to evaluate your situation. I mean, where are you at? And you know, you can take all kinds of surveys, but I think there are like three ways you can feel about work. You can feel like, I love my job, this is great. It's not like every day is perfect, but you know, overall, I actually look forward to going to work most days. And some people feel like that. And then some people, of course, hate their jobs. And this is the worst job ever. This is terrible. I hate my boss. I hate my coworkers. It's so stressful. And then some people are in the middle and they're like, it's a job. You know, it's not too good. It's not too bad. I don't hate it. I don't love it. It's just a job. And when I look at studies from across the world, I think it's a fair. It varies a lot from country to country, but I think about 20% love their jobs. I think around 30% hate their jobs, and then about 50% actually in the middle. And they're like, it's just a job. It's not too bad. It's not too good. So here's my advice. If you're in the I hate my job group, I would highly, highly encourage you to quit and find something else. Especially, I mean, it depends on why you hate your job. Maybe it's temporary and then it's fine. But maybe, like you're saying, you're stuck in a workplace that just doesn't value happiness at work, that doesn't care about its people, that keeps people putting profits first and people last. And that kind of workplace is probably not going to change anytime soon. In fact, it's more likely that this workplace will change you than you are likely to change this workplace. And this
I have
workplace
seen that. Yes, I have
right?
seen that.
How have you seen that? What happens? What happens to people?
So initial people were good, but then if they want to save their job, they change themselves.
Yeah.
So they align their mindset with the mindset of the, you can say, the authorities and all that. Though they were good at heart in the very beginning, but they say it's okay.
Yeah.
Live like a Roman is in Rome, something like that.
Exactly. And that's how these attitudes perpetuate themselves inside the organization. That's how you get more and more people who actually contribute to making the workplace worse. If you're in the group if you're a person who loves your job, my main advice, first of all, great, that's amazing, well done. And my advice is figure out why. What is it you love about your job? What is it that works for you? What is it you need in order to be happy at work? Because if you're not aware of this, then someday it might be gone. Someday you might not have that anymore. But like I said, I think about 50% are like in the middle. They don't hate their jobs. They don't love their jobs. It's just a job. And I think I have a lot of hope for those people because if it's not too bad, so you could actually make it good. As an employee, you could do some things to make your own situation better. And I think the perfect place to start would be like we talked about in your team. How can we make our team happier at work? What are some things we can do to make work more fun, more interesting, more rewarding, more challenging, more interesting? And I've seen teams transform themselves like that, like from one week to the next to become happier at work. And my main advice, like the most important, I think, the most important finding from the happiness research is, of course, that if you want to be happier yourself, the best thing you can do is go make somebody else happy. We know from a lot of studies that when you do nice things for yourself, it has a small effect. But when you do nice things for others, it actually has a larger effect on your own happiness. So creating this team where we're focused on each other's happiness, we're doing nice things for each other. Maybe we're celebrating each other's birthdays. Maybe we're giving positive feedback. Maybe we're helping each other, communicating well, that kind of thing. In that way, you could actually transform your team from being just fine to being a team where people love to work.
You might have heard about Navy SEALs.
Yeah.
So one of the Navy SEAL was giving an interview, and then he said, "Okay, how do you shuffle? How do you fix up your team?" A suggestion to a company. He said, "Okay, in Navy SEALs we have a rule. If you can find the team member on whom you can trust two things: one, your money; second, your wife or husband with them." He said, "Okay, if you can trust these two things with your team member, that is the best. Even the person has a less, you can say, number oriented, or you can say on a work task. Let work task be okay. We can substitute with something else, but we can't substitute with the trust." So
Yeah.
he said, "Okay, if you trust your team members, that is the best team you always have, because then many problems are solved with that."
Yes, I could not agree more. Those positive relationships, those relationships of trust and mutual trust are amazing and a huge source of happiness at work.
So those who are already burnt out in the organization, if you
Yeah.
want to say one thing to them, what would that be?
So if you at all it depends on what situation you're in financially and in your life and that kind of thing. If you can, quit and go work somewhere else. And you might not be in a position to do that. Maybe, financially, maybe your family is relying on your income, and if you lose your job, you will be homeless. That's not good. But if you at all can, quit, get away from there. If it's probably not going to get better. In fact, it's more likely to get worse than it is to get better. If you are stuck in this job and there's just no, maybe unemployment is high in your area or in your industry or in your profession and you can't find a new job right now, there are survival strategies you can use, and you should look at what they are. I actually have on my YouTube channel, I have a 1 hour long video on quitting your job, because I think people stay too long in jobs that are not good for them, jobs that are making them unhappy. And one of the points I make is that if you're stuck in this job, you hate it, but you can't get away, what you can do is you can withdraw emotionally. So you show up to work, you do your job, but you try to stop caring.
Okay.
Why should you care about a workplace that doesn't care about you? I have more survival strategies. I talk about those in that video. But you have to recognize just how bad it can be to have a job you hate. Just how terrible that effect can be on you and your family and your mental health and your physical health.
So I heard a quick joke. I'll just share it with you. There was a joke. There was a man who was very much burnt out, and he was sleeping in the night. He came from the hell in the night at say 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock in the night. He woke up in the morning. He didn't found his slippers under his bed. He went angrily in the washroom. And when he went in the washroom, after he was taking the shower, he slept. He fell. Sorry, he slipped in the washroom. He had got a hit in the head, and then already he was unhappy with the boss, angry with the wife because slippers were not there, and he hit on the head. He went to the hospital. There he was with the nurse. He fall in love with the nurse, and then he got a divorce in the family. and then something else happened. So the kind was thinking that one thing triggers the other thing.
Exactly.
Either it could be a physical fallout, it could be an emotional fallout, just trigger is happening. The
Yeah.
joke can go on and on, something like that. But
Something like that. And I think the important thing here is that that you take responsibility for your own happiness at work. If you're not happy at work, you can't just sit around and wait for somebody to magically make it better. You have to be like in every other thing in your life, you have to take responsibility for your own situation. And do you need to quit and find something else? Then you do that. Is there something you can do in your team to make that team happier? Then you do that. But don't just sit and wait for somebody else to do it. You need to do something.
I had a friend who is a renowned architect in India, and he has been building many universities and government buildings in India. He is now almost 50. So I asked him, "What are you doing nowadays? Where are you?" He said, "I'm in Paris." I said, "What are you doing in Paris?" He said, "I am looking for the meaning of life." So I said, "Okay." But I said, "But then you could, why in Paris?" He said, "Nitin, now I'm 50-year-old. Now I have no one above me to take advices from. So I take my own decisions and I do my things. That's
Yeah,
all."
yeah,
So when people are in some situations, so when advices can't come, take a decision. As you said, take a choice. Happiness is your choice. If Paris makes you happy, go there, relax there. If you want to buy
exactly,
a new car, make yourself happy, do something, but take a decision. Don't be in a limbo, something like that.
exactly.
So now, if we want to develop some tools or some suggestions, what 2 or 3 small suggestions you would like to give to an HR or a leader to create a happier culture?
So I think the place to start is to know why we're doing this. Why are we focusing on happiness at work, and figure out what are the advantages that you're going to get out of this. And then secondly, how do we do this? What are some things that work, proven by science? And our model for what makes people happy at work is results and relationships. If you think about what you love about your job, I bet it's results is doing great work, making a difference, achieving your goals, and having meaningful work. And relationships is liking the people you work with. So some things you can do: positive feedback. If I can only suggest one tool to everybody, it's to create a culture of positive feedback inside an organization, because positive feedback gives you both results and relationships. It shows you that you're doing a good job, and it shows you that somebody cares about you and sees your positive qualities. Something we always recommend is random acts of workplace kindness, like the 2 managers who gave their employees breakfast just out of the blue. We know that random acts of kindness have a huge effect, because when something nice happens to you that surprises you, it makes you really happy. And one final thing I'll suggest is highlight the purpose of our work. So if you're in a team meeting, instead of just talking about, so what's the next task, what's the next project, make sure that you talk about, but why are we doing this project? Why is this project important? How is your work helping? I'll give a specific example. I worked with a factory in Denmark who make medical equipment, and they had a lot of problems with quality because on the assembly line, people weren't really focused on their work, and there were errors in the finished products. So what they did was they brought in some speakers over lunch one day, who were people who actually needed this medical equipment. And these people talked about, what's my life like? I'm living with this illness. I'm living with this disability. And what happens when these products don't work? What happens when these products fail? And now the employees weren't just focused on like numbers and the work on the production line. Now they can see my work helps these people. And if I don't do my work well, I'm making their life worse. Now their work had meaning and purpose. And I think that's something we can all do in our teams, is because we're so focused on what we're doing, but we forget to talk about why we're doing it.
Right. So if a leader has only 10 minutes a day to invest in culture,
Yeah.
what they should do in those 10 minutes?
Oh, that's a
Because
great question. Yeah. And I think 10 minutes a day is fine. I mean, that's a great place to start. So here's one I always recommend. We call it Take 5. And Take 5 is that you as a manager, every minute you take 5 minutes with one of your employees with no agenda. So it's not, hey, we need to talk about this project. We need to talk about this client. It's just you go up to people and say, hey, how are you? What's going on? Do you have any questions for me? And you do it so, and then you do it 5 minutes with one person every day. So one day this person, next day the other person, and then once you're through the whole team, back to the first person. That kind of thing is incredibly powerful for creating relationships because it shows that you care about people. It shows you listen to them. You have time for them. And it's not all just about work. It can also be, hey, how was your weekend? How's the family? I know you're going on vacation. Where are you going? That kind of thing. So that's 5 minutes a day. Excellent tool. Positive feedback, like I said, every chance you get as a manager to notice that your employees are doing a good job and telling them about it, incredibly powerful. You can tell them in person. You can write them an email. Doesn't matter. I like handwritten notes can be incredibly powerful. Write to somebody, hey, John, I've noticed how hard you worked on this project. I just want to say that I really appreciate all the great ideas you come up with. And I can see that the client is super happy with your work. That kind of thing would really make a difference. We talked about take 5. We talked about positive feedback. And again, as a manager, those random acts of workplace kindness, like doing something nice for people just out of the blue, is incredibly powerful. Okay. I have one more. Just highlight wins. In many organizations, if something goes well, we never talk about it. But if something goes wrong, then we have to have meetings and analyze it and find the culprit, right? So as a manager, I think it's incredibly powerful to constantly highlight what is going well. I'll give you an example. I work with a government agency in Copenhagen. There are 250 people. And they have an all-hands meeting the first Monday of every month where they have a huge breakfast for everybody. And as part of that meeting, the CEO of the whole agency goes on stage and has 3 wins that she wants to celebrate since the last meeting. So what has gone well in the organization? So with this project completed on time, and this team has done amazing work on that, and whatever, right? But this constant focus on what is going well creates this feeling of results, this feeling that we're doing great work. This is something managers can do. And if you do that 10 minutes a day, it's going to shine through.
I have heard about 2 kinds of bosses something like 10 minutes a day, something idea. One was like he invites people for the coffee on his table in the cafeteria. But then 2 kinds of bosses, they're the same thing. One kind of boss, when people are very happy, oh, the boss has called me for a coffee, so it will be good time. But that boss trashes in those 10 minutes the hell out of the person and then ask about what went wrong, what you are doing, and all that. And the other kind of a boss, again, 10 minutes, having a cup of coffee, asking about the child, where he's educating, about the wife health, about something else, about his own medical history or something, how you are well and all that. Can I add something? Whatever the problem is being solved in that 10 minutes.
That's
And then
exactly it.
And then the word of mouth goes that the coffee with the person is dangerous or happy.
Yeah.
So that also, I have seen this kind of comparison of different things. Wonderful. Thank you for highlighting again.
Yeah, I spoke at an HR conference in Istanbul a few years ago, and there was the head of a multinational in Turkey came to me and said that he was the head of HR, and he said that every month he books a 2-hour lunch with 10 random employees from across the company. Like his secretary sets it up and they just sit down for a 2-hour lunch, and then his job is to listen. It's not like he needs to present anything. It's like, hey, what's going on? What is happening in your team? Do you have any questions? Do you have any doubts? Any problems? What do you like about your jobs? That kind of thing. But 2 hours with 10 random people every single month. And as you're saying, those stories spread across the organization because everybody will go back to that team and say, hey, I had lunch with this guy. He was so open. He listened to our problems. He said they were going to do something about this. Yeah.
One of my PhD scholar who has done a PhD in this topic of team energy. So he said that my finding says is that if we know the nicknames of our friends, if the boss calls by the nicknames or the team members call by nickname, not the official name, the bonding is stronger. If they call official names, the team bonding is weaker. Something like that.
And if it's Mr. or Miss something, then it's even worse.
So that was so kind to re-emphasize those points and then telling the new points of kindness out of the blue, highlight the wins. I'm sure we are going to implement this idea in our university also for the students, because recognition is also required at
Yes.
different perspectives. Yes.
Yes.
So with this, we come down to the next round is called as cool fire. So I will
Ooh.
be cool fire. You can also fire back. You can also fire back to me. Okay.
Excellent.
So now I will be asking you, saying you one statement, and then you
Hmm.
can respond to it in a very short word or a sentence as much as possible, depending
Beautiful.
on the question. Okay. One, a 1 minute story from an anonymous employee about workplace joy. Any story that you would like to tell that some employee
Yes.
has told about his joy.
Yes. Oh my God. So I did some work for a Danish trade union, and one of their employees came up to me and said that he had had a problem because his mom was seriously ill. So he came to work one day and he was like, of course, he was sad. And his boss noticed. So his boss comes up to him and says, "Hey, is something wrong? Do you want to sit down and talk about it over a cup of coffee?" And so they sit down, they have a really good conversation. And the boss is like, "How can we help? Do you need reduced hours? Can we do something? What do you need?" And so they've worked out a plan for where he could be there for his mother. But what really mattered to him, what he really noticed after was that just like my boss noticed that I was not feeling well, and she acted on it. She did something about it, and that really it made him incredible. Of course, he was not happy because it's a tough situation. His mother was sick, but it really meant something to him that she cared enough to act on it and figure out what was wrong and what they could do about it.
Hmm. One question every employer should ask themselves.
Themselves, am I happy at work? So, because
The
here's the
easy
thing.
one.
Yeah. So the employer should if you're the boss, if the CEO, you should ask, "Am I happy at work?" Because if you're not happy at work, then you're gonna ruin it for everybody around you. If the boss is miserable, that's gonna spread throughout the whole organization. So I think like why if you're the boss and you're not happy, figure out why and what you can do about it so you become happy at work again. Because then if you are happy, that's also going to spread throughout the organization.
Wonderful. One brave thing a leader can do this week to make a change.
You can ask your employees, is there something I can do better? So as a boss,
Hmm.
go to your employees because they know they know what you're doing and they know what you're doing wrong. And asking them, is there something I can do better is incredibly brave because you might get an answer that's unpleasant or something that you don't like. They might point out some of your flaws and some of your bad behavior. But listening to that and then acting on it is incredibly powerful. So that question, I think, what can I do better is incredibly brave.
If happiness was tracked like a revenue, what would change in how we lead?
So there are many organizations where they actually do that. And there are
Is
even
it?
there are even organizations where part of the manager's annual bonus depends on the employee's happiness. And I think that's fantastic. So I have seen how this works. This is not hypothetical. I can see that. I can tell you that specifically that happiness goes up, employee retention goes up, absenteeism goes down, results go up, and this is great for everybody all around. And I will say this is not something that we should do. It's something we must do. We must track happiness. In fact, I created a tool for it. It's called Heart Count, like a heart to the muscle, where we can track employee happiness weekly throughout the whole organization.
Okay. What is the first boundary or self-care act they must not compromise on, the employees?
Um, don't work for a workplace that doesn't value you, doesn't care about you, because they will consistently do the wrong thing to make employees unhappy. So I think that at the end of the day, as an employee, you're not the CEO. You can't change the strategy. You can't change the budget. You can't change the org chart. But what you can do is you can walk away. That is the ultimate power you have as an employee, and nobody can take that away from you. And if you don't use that power, if they can treat you however badly you want, and you're never going to quit, then you're not an employee. Then you're a slave. So I think it's up to each and every one of us to say, where is my boundary? What behavior will I accept? What behavior will I not accept? And then if the company keeps doing things you're not willing to accept, then take the consequences and leave.
Hmm. based on this answer, I remember you made me remind a joke. I'll tell you that. There were two donkeys talking to each other, and they were talking about their bosses. Okay, my boss is so ruthless. My boss is so hard. My boss is so. Both of them were saying. So the first boss said to second boss, or second donkey, sorry, the first donkey said to second donkey, "Why don't you resign?"
Yeah,
So if you are too much of complaining, why don't you resign?
exactly.
So the second donkey said, "No, my future is bright here. My future is bright here." He said, "How come your future is bright here?" He said, "My boss has a daughter, and I observed whenever he is unhappy with his daughter, he always says, 'If you don't listen to my advice, I will get you married to my donkey.'" So I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah, yeah.
So I don't know what kind of things are people holding on because of which they are sticking to this toxic environment. There
I
must
think
be something. They must
I
be
think
having a bright future there.
I think a lot of it is like cultural expectations. Like you said, some people just expect work to be bad, but a lot of it is also sunk cost in that you have invested so much in this job, you have been miserable for so long, and some people have the feeling
Aye.
that if you quit, you will have wasted all of that time. You will have wasted all of that effort. Or if you quit, your boss wins. But none of that matters. What matters is your health and happiness. So if the workplace is that terrible, get away. Just get away.
If to every HR head and a CEO who is still ignoring happiness, what
Mhm.
do you want them to hear before it's too late?
I want them to hear that they're losing money. They're losing so much money because they're not prioritizing the well-being of their employees. They could, in a matter of months, if they did the right things, they could change the organization and make it not only happier but also more productive. That's one thing. And the other thing I want them to hear is that if they're running a workplace that is toxic, that is wearing people down, that is burning there, where it's causing stress and burnout, you are ruining people's lives. You are running your workplace in a way that ruins their mental health, their physical health, their career prospects, their well-being, and that's not okay. You wouldn't want to work in a workplace like that. So why are you creating this workplace for others? That's my main message. There's a productivity argument here. Profits will be higher, but there's also an ethical argument in that running a bad workplace, a toxic workplace, is just ethically wrong. It's not okay. Yeah.
Okay. Uh, what is one cultural shift that transformed the energy of a team or a company you had worked with?
For me, at least, it is the main culture shift is a shift in what we value, what do we measure, what do we focus on? Do we only measure, profits and growth and results, or do we also measure employee happiness, and make that a primary strategic focus for the organization? And when companies change that and start valuing that, that's when things get really, really interesting. That's when change happens very, very quickly. And I've seen CEOs come around to that thinking, and it's a beautiful thing to see because then the organization changes like that.
I wish everybody understand this perspective that the change is possible, but yes, somebody has to take a first step of that to prioritize
Yes,
their happiness.
exactly.
Thank you for taking up these all cool fires which I was shooting from here, and you were lovely managing and responding to each of the fire. Thank you so much once again.
My pleasure.
Alex, we have one custom, or you can say one culture at our podcast is whoever is the guest, the wonderful guest that we have, he leaves a question for the next speaker.
Ah,
So it's a blind question. It's a blind question, and they don't know who that person would be.
yeah.
So I will be sharing to you, first of all, the person who came just before you.
Hmm.
We had Miss, can you see the screen?
I can.
So we had Miss Monica Salwan. She was the Vice President Legal in Kotak Mahindra Bank. It is a very famous bank in India, and
Hmm.
she represents the Vice President Legal. So she has left a question for you. I'm going to ask that question to you. How self-awareness plays an important role in emotional well-being.
Oh, I think it plays a huge role. I think part of what you need to do, we talk about taking responsibility for your own happiness at work. Part of what you need to do is know yourself. So you need to know what makes me happy at work. What are some things I need in order to enjoy my job? And that's going to be different for everybody. But also, what are some things that make me unhappy at work? What are some things I don't want? And that's also going to be different. So I think this self-awareness, knowing yourself, being aware of what works for you and what you want and what you need to avoid, I think is absolutely critical. So one question I always recommend that people ask themselves is look back at previous work situations that really worked for you, that you really enjoyed, and then analyze them and find out what was great about this situation. Why did this work? Why did I love working in this team? Why did I love working for this boss? Why did I love working on this project? Partly that, and then of course also the opposite. What are some situations where I was miserable at work, and why was that? What are some things I need to avoid in the future?
Yes, I will convey this answer to Miss Monica. I'm sure she will she will get this answer, and then I'll pass a video also to her also. Thank
Beautiful.
you. Now, Alex, now the ball is in your court. You are
Yeah.
going to leave a question for the next speaker, and you
Yes.
don't know who the person would be.
Yes.
So you don't know who would that person would be, from which country he or she could be. You
Mhm.
can. It's a blind question. You can leave for the other question for the other person.
Oh, what a great idea. I love this. Okay, I have a question. I would like you to ask them to tell you about a specific situation where they were happy at work. And
A situation.
why, yeah, like a specific, like not something in general, I love my job because, but like a specific situation. Like I was in this meeting, or I was working on this project or whatever. So talk about a specific situation where they were happy at work and then why that made them happy.
That's a wonderful, specific question that you have left for them. I will ensure that once we have our next speaker confirmed, I will be tagging you and the other guest on LinkedIn, just like I had tagged you before somebody else, Miss Monica. So we had linked both of you on the same post. Same thing we are going to do with you and the next speaker also.
That is such a great idea. I love that.
And we will be putting the podcast video also on the LinkedIn and on the YouTube channels. It will be there. Thank you. Now this comes to an end. And you can say a most pleasing section, or you can say the last moment. If you would have been at Amity University, Noida, we would have been honored to give you a physical memento. But right now we are in digital world, talking to us digitally via Zoom. So we had created a digital, you can say, a way of expressing our love and respect for your presence here. And let me just open up the surprise. We have made a song for you. So
amazing.
It's a custom song. It's a custom song. This also our love and respect for you.
From Denmark skies to global floors, he's knocked on every corporate door. With joy in hand and truth in voice, he gave the world a kinder choice. Through meetings, mics, and books that shine, he taught us work can still feel fine. Not just a job, not just a grind, but space for heart and peace of mind. Oh, Alexander, you lit the flame, where purpose dances with a name. From 9 to 5, you changed the frame and made happy more than just a game. So here's our song with all our heart, for all the joy you helped to start. Oh, Alexander, thank you today for leading with light along the way. In boardrooms cold and metrics tight, you brought in warmth, you brought in light. To Hilton, Shell, and Microsoft, you whispered truths that made us soft. You made us see that trust can win, that smiles belong to discipline. And every leader now can see, happiness fuels legacy. Oh, Alexander, you lit the flame, where purpose dances with a name. From 9 to 5, you changed the frame and made happy more than just a game. So here's our song with all our heart, for all the joy you helped to start. Oh, Alexander, thank you today for leading with light along the way. In boardrooms cold and metrics tight, you brought in warmth, you brought in light. To Hilton, Shell, and Microsoft, you whispered truths that made us soft. You made us see that trust can win, that smiles belong to discipline. And every leader now can see happiness fuels legacy. To every tired soul in suits and screens, you brought back laughter, life, and dreams. In a world that asked us just to perform, you reminded us we're human, we're warm. Oh, Alexander, this is your tune, a grateful echo from this room. From our podcast to the world so wide, we walk in joy with you as guide. Oh, so here's our song with all our heart, for all the joy you helped to start. Oh, Alexander, thank you today for leading with light along the way. Oh, Alexander, this is your tune, a grateful echo from this room. From our podcast to the world so wide, we walk in joy with you as guide. Oh,
Ah, that was amazing.
Glad you loved it.
So
And
much.
so that was a memento from our side, that for your kind presence and for that love that you have shared with your wisdom and experiences on this domain of happiness. Any audience who have one or two questions to ask, they can open up their camera, and one or two questions we can take before we go for the closing.
One simple things I want to ask, how we have to balance the happiness. That is the challenge that we are facing nowadays. Please.
Say that. Well, please say that again.
He
So
said how
how
to balance happiness
how to
at
make
work.
how to make the balance for happiness, maintaining happiness, making balance in happiness.
Yeah, that's a great question. Thank you. And there are two ways we can look at this. First of all, it's not about being perfectly happy all the time. No job is perfect. And if somebody's happy every moment, every day, there's something wrong with them. There are studies that show that the perfect place to be on a happiness scale from 0 to 10 is not 10. It's actually like an 8. So we're not trying to create perfect happiness for everybody everywhere. We're trying to create jobs, workplaces where people feel good most of the time. I think that's one way to look at it. And then the other aspect is that, I mean, of course, a workplace exists to work. You know, you don't go to work to be happy. You go to work to work. It's just that we need this realization that when people are happy, they do better work. And that's how we balance this. So it's not a matter of either happiness or great results. It's both and. And if we focus on happiness, we create better results. If we only focus on results, we actually create less happiness. Did that answer the question?
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for the question. Any one person has asked, Mr. Vijay, Swami Vijay. He want to ask the question live, or shall I read the question? Mr. Vijay, do you want to open your camera and ask? Or shall I read the question for you? Okay. He has asked whether happiness is more personal than managerial. What do you think?
That is a great question. And it is, of course, I think the answer is it's both, right? In that you have to take responsibility for your own happiness at work, absolutely. But at the end of the day, there are many things that affect your happiness at work, and your manager's behavior is absolutely one of them. So if you have a manager who is kind and respectful and skilled at what they do, you'll probably be happy at work. And if you have a manager who's disrespectful and toxic and rude, you will absolutely be miserable at work. That's just the way it is. So it is. I always get the question, who's responsible for happiness at work? Is it the employees or is it management? And the answer is yes, it's both. But I do think at the end of the day, managers have a huge influence on the happiness of their employees. and they need to take have you seen the Spider-Man movies? Spider-Man, the quote, with great power becomes great responsibility. And it's the same for managers. As a manager, you have a huge influence on how your employees feel at work, and you need to take that responsibility seriously. So the answer is that it's both, but I think most of the responsibility still rests with managers because they have the most influence.
Mr. Vijay, you have got the answer. Thank you so much. And anybody else who want to, Miss Dr. Meenakshi is giving a compliment to you, Alexander. Thank you, sir. It was an amazing and wonderful session, I'm sure. Yes. So with this, we come to the closing of the session, and I will request our wonderful guest to give a closing message to the wonderful audience. And
So I've actually spoken in India several times, and here's something I've noticed. I have a message specifically for India here. I know you have students all over the world, but in India, in Indian culture in general, there is a huge focus on happiness. There's the spiritual aspect, the aspect of life wisdom, on health, and so on. But what I've noticed that this is often missing from Indian workplaces, that Indian workplaces very, very often adopt the values and practices of American workplaces. This relentless focus on results, this focus on working long hours, this focus on, having the managers in charge. And I think that's a mistake because those practices don't even work very well in America. And there's no reason to copy them all over the world. So my message for India, my question for India, my challenge for India could be, could you take some of that happiness focus that you have in your lives and introduce that to the workplaces? I think that could lead to an amazing results and your workplaces could be like more Indian and less American. And I think that would be amazing. And I think in that respect, you also have a lot to teach to the rest of the world.
Right. So with this, we come down to a very happy ending, which we don't want. We should continue forever. But I think within limitations of time that we have and the kindness of our guest, who has been very patient and lovingly and happily taking all the questions, even for the audience also. Now we come down to the end, and I want to thank you, Alexander, for your kind presence. And it was a wonderful listening to you, your experiences, listening to your suggestions for the HR, for the leaders, and even for the employees to come up and prioritize their happiness. Because if they don't choose their happiness, then who else will choose? At Amity University, we also say, please choose happiness, because happiness is a choice. It is not a gift that somebody can give it to you. You have to choose your happiness. Thank you so much, Alexander, for your kind presence and coming to the podcast. Amity University Reiki Foundation, Center for Science of Happiness. And it was a lovely listening to you. I'm sure same feeling with the audience. And with this, we come to the closing. And the last thing, we will come back with the next guest very soon, and we will be informing you about the next guest who would be enhancing our level of life by adding some elements of happiness from the experiences. And with this, we sign off from here. Thank you so much, Alexander, for your kind presence. And thank you so much to the lovely audience for their kind listening to the end of this podcast. See you again for the next podcast. From here, Professor Nitin Arora signing off from Executive Harmony, conversation with global leaders on happiness and spirituality. Thank you so much. Signing off from here. Thank you, Alexander, for once again.
Thank you. That's been fantastic.
Thank you.
Hey, hey, चलो ना ढूंढे शहर एक नया, जहाँ मुस्कुराहटें हैं बिखरी, जहाँ से गम का मौसम गया, जहाँ मीठी बातें हर एक अजनबी से हों, भूले हम भी जो सारी फिक्रें, लम्हा लम्हा खुशियाँ।
आजकल सारे उदास रह रहे हैं, लेकिन आपकी जिंदगी में कुछ खुशी का जरिया होगा, तो आपको क्या खुश करता है?
What makes you happy?
पैसा और वर्किंग आउट। पैसा और वर्किंग आउट।
फ्रेंड्स, बेस्ट फ्रेंड।
ओके। तो इसके अलावा और कुछ? फैमिली। और पैसा रहेगा तो सब अपने आप ही खुश हो जाएंगे। यही आप कहना चाह रहे हो। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।
चलो ना गाए नए नए गीत, खेल ऐसा क्यों ना कोई खेल जिसमें सब ही की हो जीत। इन दिनों भूलो तारे कोई भी देखता नहीं, देखे उनको दीवाने हो के कोई कितना भी हमको टोके। खुली हवा हो खुला समा, जागे हुए हो सब अरमा, बेबे 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 हम धड़कने दिल जैसे धड़कने धड़कने दो, क्यों है कोई आग नभी शोला जो भड़के भड़कने दो।
हाय कैसे हो, खाया क्या खुशियों की कसम। ओ हेलो, ऑफ है मूड, सैड हो तो सुनो, देखो मैंने तो खा ली है हैप्पीनेस वाली कसम, इसके साथ ही कह दिया टाटा बाय टू ऑल द गम। हाय कैसे हो, खुश हो क्या, सच कहो। ओके लिसन, देखो ना झूम रही हूँ पूछो कैसे, सबको रिकमेंड करती हूँ मैं हैप्पीनेस वाली कसम। जिंदगी में एक ही काफी है, नो टेंशन हम हैं मगन।